more.
Right. So I try to make that, get that info out of the customer. But you run into a lot of customers where they want one thing, but by the time you get to the job, they've been on Pinterest so long, they're like, hey, I want it done like this. And,
And that changes it up. So always get extra. Always get at least 20% is what we've been talking about, if not more extra. A lot of times you can return, like if you've got a full box, let's say you lay all the tile and there's a box and a half left. Keep that half box, but sometimes you can return full boxes.
Yeah, most everybody we deal with, like MSI, they'll return.
Yeah.
Dell Tower return unless it's a real specialty item.
Yep.
But we got a good relationship with them, so they usually will take it. Even
so it's always better to have more.
Right.
Yeah. So okay. So multiple reasons to have more tile. All right. When you're estimating tile as well, does the cost of the job depend on the style of tile? Does that matter, or do you for us, we kind of got away from a price per square foot or anything like that. We really do what works for our company, which is our labor and things, and we've got a formula that we use that works for us. But like, does it matter type or style?
Right. So when you get into like herringbone chevron, it takes longer to do.
Yeah.
So
you got to be a little more sensitive too, right?
Right.
Take your time.
So there is a cost difference on the install.
Yeah.
Portion of that.
Yeah. Okay. And then when it comes to, let's see, we've talked about some of the tools, basic tools, right? Knowing basic math. In that one video we did, you pointed out that you would need a Sharpie, not just a pencil.
Right.
Why is that?
Because you not a lot of tile you can mark with a pencil on, especially if it's got a polished
right, you won't
finish
see
on
it.
Yeah.
Or you'll rub it right off.
It won't mark.
Won't do it.
Yeah.
Okay. So have a Sharpie on you so you can mark your measurements. Is there any measuring rules when it comes to tile that would be different than carpentry or anything like that?
Not really. I mean, you just got to be able to do math. You got to take in effect for grout lines and, blade sizes and all that stuff.
So when you're doing your layout for tile, and depending on the size of the grout line that the client wants, and a lot of people are wanting these super thin grout lines, how do you factor that in when you're doing layout?
So you take your spacer, because you're going to use a spacer.
Yep.
Unless, a lot of tiles, they'll have a pre-beveled edge, so it
creates its own,
with its own 16th inch. But you want to lay it out on the floor, really, and
because you can always assume, let's just say, like on a tub hop up, it's 5 foot wide. Why do you need to lay it out? It's 5 foot.
Right.
But depending on thicker, thin grout lines, depending on a multitude of factors, where the niche is going to lay out, you want to lay out. Now, do you lay out the kind of the whole thing, or do you try to do the best you can? How do you do that part from top to bottom?
The way I like to do it is where my first line's going to be, like the bottom of the niche or the bottom of a window.
Yeah.
And I like to have my grout line break right there. That way you don't have a funny notch right at your eye level.
I see what you're saying. Yep. And that's, anything at eye level is immediately noticeable. Okay. What about backsplashes? So you've got flooring, you've got a lot of showers that we do. What about backsplash? So let's talk about how important it is. So on backsplash, how do you calculate your backsplash versus how do you calculate what you need for a shower?
It's about the same. Your typical tile run's going to be about 18 inches.
Okay.
But that's, that's just standard now.
Yeah.
Some people have smaller, some...
There might be variation, right? But assume 18. Okay. And let's just say they've got let's keep it simple. They've got a 10-foot back wall, and... you might have a window or something, right? How do you talk to the client about, or you may have a hood vent or something like that.
Right.
How do you establish those boundaries when it comes to tile, as far as here's what I recommend is, do they want it to just be 18 inches all the way around?
Right.
Do they want to go
now,
up?
If they have a window or, like you said, a hood vent.
Yeah.
Just kind of talk it over with them and, give them your perspective on what would look the cleanest.
Yeah, yeah. And that's really what it's about too, is because sometimes when they go, some people want to go all the way up the back wall now where that hood vent is, and some people just want to kind of stop it at the bottom of the hood vent. If there's a window, you got to kind of pick and choose where to stop it on
Hmm.
each side of the window to make it look right. What other things are you talking about on a backsplash? Kind of how you're going to trim it out, right? Schluter?
Yes.
Or are you going to?
Or like a pencil trim. It just depends on really your finishings in your kitchen. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Your colors of your hardware and stuff. Or sometimes they don't look good with some of the tile they'll pick out.
yeah,
So in that case, you'll run some kind of pencil trim that matches the tile
got
to
it.
kill it off into.
Okay, all right. What else for tile? What else do we need to know about tile?
Grout.
Yeah, let's talk about
Okay.
that.
So it's not always best to let your helper do all the grout work.
Why not? So sometimes that's the stuff. I'll tell you, if there's anything that that some of our more senior installers don't like to do, it's grout. But honestly, sometimes grout can make all the difference, man.
All the difference in the world. It somebody that doesn't know how to properly install grout or clean it.
Yeah,
Let's say clean it.
yeah,
You'll have your grout lines will be doing this the whole time.
yeah. You'll have
You know
fat
what I mean?
packed
Because they're not
You
cleaning
know,
it correctly.
that's another one where it bugs me. But I
And then
can
you
look
don't
in
have
the
straight lines.
yeah.
So none of your lines are straight from that point. And
Well,
it is
and
a pain to after it sets up
yeah.
to get it straight.
Well, that's another one that I can immediately start looking at niches, corners, and
And
man,
they'll
they
be
will
built
pack
up
out
in that corner.
yes. Now, there's a difference in not cleaning it properly, edging it up, and all that. And then some people use it to hide their cracks and mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and I've seen that. So you got to be leery if you see some fat corners or some packed out grout in corners. You know, people use that to compensate. They use that grout to make it seem more level than
Right.
it is sometimes too. But what you're saying is you can tell. Sorry, you'll have actual level tile, but because
Of your
that
grout
grout,
work, you've messed your whole job up.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And one thing I've seen too, just sticking on grout, how important it is we had a huge shower down at one of our clients in Gulf Shores, Mr. Kidwell. I'll cut that piece, but you know, that shower was half of his entire bathroom. It seemed like, and it kept hazing.
It was
Why?
like
Why was it hate? Remember that?
18 feet by 7 or 8 feet.
Yeah,
shower.
it was humongous
Right.
shower, seamless entry. So, but it kept hazing up. I can't remember what did we figure out with that because that's happened before.
That's
Where
long.
it'll just keep hazing.
I can't remember, but it really, I mean, it's the way you clean it.
Yeah,
Sometimes it calls for dry. You know what I mean? After you do first couple of wipes
yeah,
with the sponge, it helps to take a dry, clean towel and wipe off
And
the
wipe it
hazing.
up.
Yeah.
I've seen one of the first big showers we did. Actually, the whole bathroom they wanted Subway, and so we did a half wall of Subway all the way around the bathroom, around the tub, and then the whole shower, floor to ceiling. And the couple, the guy was an engineer, and he would come in there at night with a laser and check everything. And that was one seriously where the crew was in there with razors edging up the ground. I mean,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And it had to be perfect to satisfy this client's needs. But that was one of the toughest clients. Not that they were wrong, but I mean, he just would set a laser
Right.
level on there every night to make sure it's right. But the grout lines, man, he wanted them things perfect too. I mean, and so they were in there with the razor. I mean, edging it up, getting it, you know what I mean,
Right.
getting it exactly
The straighter,
perfect.
I mean, the straighter and perfect your grout line is,
So what's
it
your
really
best?
sets it off. You
What's
know
your
what I mean?
what's your best tip then when you're finished before they, you know, especially for your DIY people watching this, for your beginners, what is your best advice when it comes to the grout process? Talk us through what that looks like.
So
To keep it clean, to keep it kind of
read the bag.
okay.
You know what I mean, 'cause
so the bag of grout tells you
it's going to
has
tell you
instructions. Okay.
exactly what it calls for, because a lot of different brands
Yeah.
are different. You know what I mean? The way you mix it just like it says, and not just
So
by
it'll tell you. It'll give you mixing
because
instructions.
you
Okay.
can think, oh yeah, I mix that good. And you spread it, and then within 3 or 4 minutes, it's locking up on you, and then you got issues when you're trying to clean it up.
Well, so the you can do it too thick, too thin.